Hey, good morning, everyone. We are having a very early morning with our Virgin Authors program. Welcome to the show. This is the Virgin Authors program. We are three friends who are bonded by our love of writing, who are struggling to navigate the publishing world. My name is Mandy McGuire, and I'm a Virgin author. And I missed the last show because I was at the Sonoma County Writers Camp, and I'm going to share a little bit about that at the end of the show.
Hey guys, I'm Jana, and I'm a Virgin author.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and I too am a Virgin author. I would love to introduce our guest, Jane DeLury, but first I just want to say that Jana is here with me here in Hawaii, where it is 6 o'clock in the morning, which means we got up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So we have some strong tea, but Mandy is the only one of us with fully functioning brain cells. So just so you know, and we don't actually need all this.
That's actually normal because
she
does normally.
And I'll just add, even though it is a functioning hour here at 9, I am not a morning person. So, we're going to have a great show with Jane.
Same for yourself.
Yes, so sorry, back to Jane. Jane is the author of The Balcony, a novel and stories which won the Sue Kaufman Prize for First Fiction from the Academy of Arts and Letters. Her prize-winning short stories have appeared in multiple publications, including the Southern Review, the Yale Review, Narrative Magazine. She holds multiple degrees in English and French literature, some actually from France.
Wow.
And currently is a professor of English at the University of Baltimore, where she teaches creative writing. We are here to chat about her new novel, HEDGE, published by Zibby Books and coming out next month, right?
It's a month, yeah.
Yep.
Yay. Congratulations,
Yay.
Jane.
Oh, thank you for holding that up. We're all because
I know.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on.
Excited.
Oh, thanks for being here. Okay, so you got the first question.
I'm gonna ask you some questions about the book, and then we're just gonna chat about you. And I want to start with your novel begins at a Victorian estate in the Hudson River Valley of New York, which, as it happens, is not far from where I grew up. And so when I started, I immediately looked up the estate, which actually exists. And can you tell us how you chose that setting?
Sure. So the book is divided in 3 parts, but really 2 geographical areas, right? So the first part of the book, I'll just give a tiny plot summary. My protagonist, Maud, lives in the Bay Area, but she's come to this estate in the Hudson Valley, Montgomery Place, for a summer with her 2 daughters, kind of escaping an unhappy marriage. And while she's on the grounds, she meets this handsome archaeologist, Gabriel, and really, as she's reviving her career as a landscape historian, she's also falling into this deep friendship with Gabriel. But her daughter Ella is having some problems that Maud does not know the extent of until everything blows up in the last part of that first section of the book. And then we move 2 years later to San Francisco, where Ella's still struggling, and Maud is processing what happened during that summer in New York. So originally, when I wrote the very first draft of this book, I knew that I wanted to write about a mother with 2 daughters, and the struggle to pursue one's ambitions and passions, and also be, a good mother. And what does that mean to be a good mother? I myself had just divorced in my early 40s. I have 2 daughters who are nothing like the girls in the book. But I definitely was navigating that experience of starting anew, but also needing to be responsible to my family, which had shifted. So I knew that was sort of the story I wanted to tell. I also was falling in love with gardening on my own in this new home that I was creating. And I wasn't particularly good, but I was incredibly passionate about it. I mean, I don't even want to think about how much money I've spent on plants. You think they're not expensive, but when you kill a lot of them and keep buying new ones, it can add up. So that all sort of combined into this idea of this landscape historian. I'm also really into history. I love history. And the idea of some of this real profession that exists more in the UK and Europe, of people who go to historic areas and actually find the gardens that once existed there by examining the soil, doing chemical tests, doing archaeological surveys, finding old walls, and bringing a garden back to life. I just was completely fascinated by that profession. And as with most of my writing, I love to give my protagonists the professions that maybe I would have if I hadn't made the mistake.
Right. We all do.
No, it's great being a writer. So anyway, I started, the first draft of HEDGE actually took place at Monticello, which is a cradle of garden restoration and garden history in the US. And so I did a lot of research there with the wonderful team of archaeologists and garden historians and garden,
I love that area.
learning about that, learning about this work. Ultimately, though, Thomas Jefferson casts a very long shadow, and the initial draft of the book there was much more grappling with the legacy of slavery, and it was a very different kind of book, and it was much longer. So when I decided that needed to shift, because honestly, I could write 500 pages just about garden history, but it wouldn't be enough. You know, I'm happy to just talk about garden history forever. When I made that decision to move the book, I needed to find sort of, I'll use your word, virgin territory. I wanted to find a garden that had not been restored. I wanted to give Maud a project that had never been done. And I do love Virginia. I go to Virginia all the time. It's close by. I love the Shenandoah Valley. I go by myself. I'm going in a few weeks back to the Blue Ridge Mountains to hike. And it's just, I have a real attachment to the landscape. I have a similar feeling about the Hudson Valley. I just love the Hudson River. I love that area. So I kind of knew when I decided to move the book, I should try to find an estate in the Hudson Valley. That's how I ended up at Montgomery Place, which is on the Bard College campus. And it was a little bit late-ish in the process of writing the book. And so it was kind of a wham bam. I'm continuing with these sex metaphors, but summer of, or fall of finding people at Bard who were absolutely wonderful to take me around Montgomery Place and move my book there. And so actually the hedge in the title originally was a hedge at Monticello, but I wanted that hedge. So I literally walked the grounds of Montgomery Place with the head of grounds and gardens, who's amazing.
Cool.
And we figured out where the hedge could be. We just out the book. So that's how I ended up in the Hudson Valley.
You redesigned your own garden there. That's so cool.
Yeah. And there are all these, there are photographs. I literally did what Maud does. I went into the archives. Not run by the same person as in the novel. All the people are fictitious, but I went to the archives. I looked at photographs. I looked at old seed catalogs from the 19th century. And so I kind of tried to shadow my character and the research she would have done. So that was a long answer, but
no, it answered our next question.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I have wax plants all over, I was blown away at how more interested I was in that than I thought. I loved how the headlights, not to give away people, but read it. The headlights, would give the topography. I don't know how, but you had some really cool things and it really drew me in.
Yes.
And I only have, because I was an airline person, you never have a house plant or any plants because unless they just grew naturally. It's like survive or die.
Yeah, absolutely. I know.
Your history, the history of it was awesome. I did have that question about the garden historian. And it's fascinating. So you guys really did that well. The thing I also wanted to ask you was, like when she moves over to the next location was San Francisco, right? Because I'm horrible at geography, surprisingly. Thank you. I loved how you talked about Juana Briones de Miranda. And I was like, is this a real person? And so then I Google it, and it's amazing. And so you tied it in twice, I think, a couple times with these real characters. And this lady had such a history. And so again, your history, I guess. Huh?
Somebody needs to write a novel about her life. I'm not the person to do it, but she's known as the mother of San Francisco. Because, women are always called mothers. I mean, it's a lovely title. At the same time, she was actually a kick-ass businesswoman and
11 kids too. And
a healer and just an absolutely amazing person. But, as with a lot of history, there's very little written, there's nothing in her own voice except the transcription of her request to the Catholic Church to be separated from her husband, who was abusive. I think she never actually officially got that approval.
That's what I was reading up on. I was reading on it for you.
And she just moved. She left him. She picked up her kids. She started a farm in what is now the city, and ended up really a wealthy landowner in mountains nearby. But also just kind of an amazing, generous person. She adopted a lot of
a little girl.
Anyway, she's amazing, and again, there's not that much about her in the book, but I'm hoping.
No, there isn't. But it's cool how you tied in your characters with these real people. I mean, that was really neat too. You tied it in just gently. It was a really cool way.
What you mentioned that really interests me is how much your novel changed in revision. Because that's the thing I think all of us struggle with is you have this idea and you get this first draft and you type the end and it's like, yay, I finished it. I got to the end, right? But then it's like, well, it doesn't really work. And how much am I willing to invest in, it sounds like that. I mean, that was a major shift you made.
Major.
It was. I mean, honestly, there was the location shift, which involved a lot of work and research, but the character also changed. Sort of the sensibility of the novel changed first. Maud's character changed from that first draft. And I'm a short story writer as well. And I'm a compulsive reviser. I revise and revise and revise. So one thing I have learned, I have maybe two pieces of advice for writers, but one of them is you really do need to eat the box of chocolates or have the glass of Prosecco whenever something is done, because it actually isn't done, and you're probably going to be tears about it, or throwing something at a wall about it, and that, but you've got to appreciate those milestones and
celebrate,
because there's so much that is not sweet in this journey. Writing is, it's hard. It is, and publishing is also hard, and revision is hard, and obviously we continue to do it because we love it enough. But it's funny when you say, being done, that idea of being done. And I've been really careful with this book to celebrate, I joked to my husband, I don't know, we were in the last edits of the book, there were just constant last minute edits. And so I joked to my husband that we're I kept wanting to buy an actual bottle of champagne, which is pretty expensive, but not a full one. We found these half bottles. So, and I said, I don't want to know, in addition to my plant budget, I don't want to know my half bottle champagne budget, because every time anything good happened, I'm we're buying a half bottle of champagne.
You should share that with us. We need a link to order that.
I love that idea.
Yes.
Because you do have to celebrate every moment of this, because that's the important thing. Just some virgins out there, celebrate everything. Getting the piece of paper, we'll all be drunks and 500 pounds because of the chocolate.
Male writers have been doing that for centuries.
That's right. Well, I have a question. I feel like the book started that first kind of section, like you talked about, was much more lighthearted. This mom and the two daughters, and it's more about her work and her relationship and her daughters. And then to me, it really felt like it
Gabriel.
turned to a very serious topic with the daughter who's struggling. And I don't want to give that away for the reader because we Googled and made sure that you hadn't given that away. So we're not going to give that away. But
Right.
yeah, but it turns to a really serious topic. And I work in education. And I mean, we all love kids and want them to be safe and happy. And so, is it difficult to write those types of topics? And, did you have to do research? Do you have personal experience? And then compartmentalize and go have dinner with your two daughters and, be happy and light and stuff. Because we all work through that in our writing, the emotions of that.
Right. Yeah. So, what happens to Maud is she knows her daughter's struggling, but she doesn't know the extent and the depth of it. And I've seen that happen plenty.
Sure. Yeah. That's
in
very,
the world. I mean, I think anyone who has friends who have kids,
Yeah.
that this can happen. And when it happens, the world stops. And that's all that matters, is making sure your kid's okay. So I did do research. I mean, I've had my own mental health struggles, not with what Ella is going through, but with an anxiety disorder. So, I mean, one of what ends up being one of Ella's diagnoses, I actually have. And so I could relate. And I mean, I'm trying not to give it away either, but I could relate in some ways, like compulsive behavior. Mine is more cognitive, but those were hard sections to write. I think in the first part of the book, Maud thinks she's in this period of life where everything is going to be rainbows and sunbeams. She's kind of escaped this really difficult situation in her marriage, and she thinks she's having this fresh start. And then the rug does get pulled out from under her. And again, I don't want to give everything away, but I hope that there are rainbows and sunshine. There's rainbows and sunshine in her future again. But the middle, she's wrestling with some really hard questions in the middle of the book, and she also has had to put the brakes on in that sort of new life she was creating.
No, it does. It does have a massive switch, which is so realistic in so many ways, and it's tough. So I mean, it's just, I mean, you had some amazing metaphors, and your writing is beautiful with all the.
Thank you.
But we were like, wow, that switched on us. So you got.
Well, and to me, it was like you turned the page and it said like 2 years later or something, and I'm like, what? Wait a minute, what happened? Like I almost said it out loud. It was just, wait, I want to know what happened.
Right. No, I know.
I love the way you brought it back and answered those questions for us, which was satisfying as a reader. Thank you very much.
And by the way, I don't know if you saw my my little post. I kept tagging you, Jane, but
yes,
I don't know what I'm doing on social media.
I'm not the best.
Oh, you did? See, I'm horrible at that too, but that's what I'm working on next. But anyway, you guys, so Oprah, it's her name. Like I got it in the mail and I'm like, okay, finally I'll look at it. And I was so excited. And then I was like, oh, Oprah's book club 100th pick. And I'm like, someday I won't. I'm all comedy books, but I would love to. But then I was in there and I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah, that was a really great surprise. And I love the way they describe it. Though I don't know that the reader will drawn into a thicket of desire they will want to escape or something. It's so funny. They really went
thicket of lust and responsibility.
Yeah.
Let me just quote. And
again,
you're like
my
Gabriel. It was like all about.
They were like, I texted that to them both like, oh my God, Mom, with the thicket of lust.
Yeah,
right.
because
well, Mandy, is it time for a lightning round?
Yes, we're going to switch. So the first half we were talking about the book. Now we're just going to talk about Jane, and we have a lightning round questions for you, just so that the readers can get to know you better as an author. So I'll just jump out. Your book comes out in just over a month. Who is going with you on book tour?
Oh my goodness, who is not going with me on book tour? That is a tough question. Yes, we are getting a lot of plane tickets. So I have a wonderful bookstore that I'm very excited about. Thank you, Zibby Books. I'm so excited about it. And they've done so much work.
Zibby Books
coordinating
so
everything.
great.
They're just amazing. So without giving every stop along the way, I'm going to the Hudson Valley with my 2 daughters. We have an event in Montgomery Place, which is gonna be great. I'm going there with my 2 daughters and then my friend. I don't know if you've read Mary Jane by Jessica Onyeablau. Jessica is one of my really good friends. It's a wonderful novel. You all should read it. Anyway, I was just on the phone with Jessica this morning, and I think she's taking the train in. We're picking her up and she's going to be with us. And then I'm dropping them all off in New York and flying home to Sacramento, where I'm from, for an event. And there will be staying with my mom and stepfather. And then my husband's flying in the next day. And then we're scooping everybody up and we're heading to the Bay Area, where my aunt and uncle will be coming in from the Los Gatos.
Oh, I think
Yeah,
that's so
it's
sweet
hilarious.
that they're all supportive of you,
It's
and they're
totally
just
adorable.
doing that.
Yeah. And
Really
yeah.
sweet.
And then other friends are coming in and meeting me in certain places. So yeah, I like to say I have an entourage, and it is
Yeah.
very
You do. No
Yeah.
wonder you're on Oprah, people.
Good job.
I'd be like paying my daughter, please come with me.
Okay.
Okay, so when you're traveling, doing all these book tours, my pets, I'm always about the pets. So do you write with a pet? And what do you do when you're traveling? Do you have like a pet sitter? Or what's the scoop?
Well.
Yeah,
It's funny you
pet.
ask, because just before I got on the Zoom, I was in a meeting and on another Zoom, and I got this email come in, and it was from a really good friend of mine who's also a wonderful writer, Elizabeth Dull, who is great with plants, and she always takes care of my
Oh,
garden.
yeah, your plants.
Well, oh yeah, right. You want to hear about my cat, but my first
No, but you're right. That's like more care for me than the
Is
dogs. I mean,
like the 25 houseplants and the many, many perennials and annuals that cannot die when I'm away. So Elizabeth,
right?
will be
I
taking
forgot
care of
about that.
those,
That's so huge.
and she will be taking care of Popcorn the cat, who I also love dearly.
I love that name.
Popcorn.
Yes, but my husband, who is also very attached to Popcorn, usually like manages Popcorn's care. So I know that he's going to make sure Popcorn is set. So I have to take care of the plants, which he is less attached
Yeah,
to, I have to say.
you're right. That's like another whole person. Forget about honey. I don't trust you. You got to have a popcorn.
Okay.
Good, but oh, that's cute.
We're not very lightning today. We're slow.
No, we're
My
not.
fault.
Okay, so how old were you when you wrote your first story?
Oh, yeah.
First story, I was 25, probably.
Wow.
Oh, yay. Okay, good. These people tell me I was 6 years old. I'm like, for God's sakes, I got a really late start.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you
no,
for-
yeah, that was my first story, complete story.
Okay, Lisa.
So how many
Mandy.
queries or submissions did you do on this book?
Not many.
Okay.
Yeah, I
This is
don't.
not her first book.
No, this is my second book, and my
Yeah.
first book was with Little Brown. And what happened and it just wasn't a match. My experience with Little Brown was amazing. I love my editor, but this book was not a match with my editor at Little Brown. And pretty much exactly when that became clear that wasn't going to work out, Lee Newman, who was with Zibby, kind of helped found the company at the beginning, emailed my agent. I knew Lee because she had edited an essay of mine in Oprah. She said, do you have any manuscripts? Samantha called me and said, should we send this to Lee? I said, absolutely. And then basically Lee acquired the book. So this book didn't,
You were solicited by a publisher. Okay, I want to get on that list.
Yeah.
but by the way,
Right
I
here. I'm
actually
texting you.
don't,
Just like
I
get some of
actually
that magic.
emailed Samantha the minute that Lee emailed, and I was like, pull that book from any submission. Like, I don't want that thing. I don't want it out there. So, we had a submission list, but I was like, pull it all back up.
It's Zibby's.
I hate being in submission. I mean, I wanted to go with Lee and I wanted to go with this press, but I also did not want to be in submission because it's like
Oh my
It's
God.
awful.
favorite condition.
Envious.
It's
Well, I
awful.
guess
Okay.
whenever you have a downtime television, I'm just segueing, but it isn't because there's no downtime with you. It sounds like, do you like thrillers, comedies, reality shows, rom-coms? Which one?
I like period dramas. Period
Oh,
dramas.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
like
makes sense.
that makes
Yeah.
sense. That fits.
Sandington. And,
Martha Stewart with the garden.
yes, I love the Durrells in Corfu is so good. I don't know, if you're into that kind of thing, it's Oh my gosh,
haven't-
it's so amazing.
Fun.
That's a favorite, but I'm watching Succession, but my husband and I don't watch, he does not watch period dramas. So with him, we watch
Yeah.
like
No, I know.
international crime,
Okay.
murder in Scandinavia.
Cool. Okay, so now you have your whole entourage, you've got this whole thing set up for the book tour, but when you actually walk in and sit down to sign books for people, thrilling or terrifying?
Signing books is thrilling.
Yay.
Yeah.
Tons of other things are terrifying. Totally terrifying. Lots of
Like-
terror, but
Like what?
sitting down and
Name
signing
something.
books is fun. Waiting for reviews, waiting for
Yeah.
reader reactions,
Yeah,
waiting,
right.
silence. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But fear is kind of my baseline as a character. That's a person. I mean, it kind of is. So
Do you have a favorite author?
I do. Virginia Woolf is my favorite author.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Okay, I could see that.
Well, I'm telling you, Jane, it's been just a pleasure meeting you and stuff. And thank you for putting up with our quick question round. We love it. And
That's fun. I
if you-
love it.
if you don't
Sorry,
mind, every once in a
slow.
while, just checking. I might remind you to check because people do write comments, after they read it or after they see us later. This is a little early for some.
Yeah.
But like a lot of it anyway. So yeah, one of my next ones would have been like, your scheduling and stuff. So if you don't mind, I'll bug you if you guys
no.
want to write questions to Jane,
Oh, I
you
would
could.
love it. It's
amazing.
wonderful. Like this is the fun part. This has been so
Oh yeah,
fun.
it's so fun to get to know you because your brain is like.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, I was sorely tempted to skip this episode because Jana was here, we couldn't both
Yeah.
skip this episode. And
Going back to
I'm
the
really
sunglasses.
glad we made the yes.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm so
really
glad. Oh,
glad we
please,
made
yes.
the
Could
effort.
you do your thing again?
But anyway,
Okay.
you can
Love it.
We
So let me
we're
just
out
say
of
a couple
time and I'm
things
bummed.
before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
So my friend Suzanne
Sorry, go
Peterson is watching us live, and she's in the Hudson Valley, and she's going to come out live and see Jane. I'm so excited for her. That's going to be great. And so
I'm so jealous. That'd be
we're
fun.
excited. So I did want to talk just quickly for our listeners about the Sonoma County Writers Camp. And the reason I want to talk about it is because there's so many different ways to connect with your community. And if you know us and have watched our show at all, we met online at writers conferences. We've met in person. We go to conferences. We go to, we enter contests. We have shut up and write groups. We have accountability groups. We meet on Zoom. Like there's lots of ways to connect with community. And I've gone to a writing retreat where just 10 women rented an Airbnb, and we had a loose schedule, but we followed a schedule and we planned our meals, and it was super casual, and I got a ton of writing, and that brought a different experience. And then I went to the Sonoma County Writers Camp, and it's again at a beautiful location. It's with Ellen Sussman and Elizabeth Stark. ES Squared are just this dynamic duo of
Brilliant.
teachers. They're
Yeah.
wonderful. And they lead classes every day. They had agents that came in that did a panel. We had an author panel, and we're going to have our next episode is with Nina Schuler, I think is how you pronounce her name.
Yeah, that's
I
what I
met
was
her
just
at
checking.
camp.
Yeah.
She's a lovely teacher at a professor at a university, and she's written a book. And we got to go for hikes. We had yoga. We had cafeteria style food. And I met just wonderful friends. And so there's just lots of great ways to get out and perfect your craft and learn more and take classes. And so share with your
And if
community.
you take a look at our website, virginauthors.com, where we talk about some of the conferences we've been to.
Yeah.
And you can join the Virgin Authors here on Facebook Live on the third Thursday of every month. And please also watch every month for our Zibby book collaboration authors like Jane.
Jane.
Mhm.
And thank you for tuning in. Everybody have a great day.
Yeah, Jane,
Thank
thank
you.
you so
Thank you,
much.
So much,
Jane.
Jane.
So fun.
That hedge